Hello, and welcome to this cnMatrix policy-based automation demonstration. Please notice that for your convenience, I have added the video times next to the features that will be covered. If you want to come back to review a certain feature at a later date, just move forward to the time listed beside the feature you want to review. There are three key points that you will want to remember during this cnMatrix PBA demo. The first is how simple it is to configure and manage cnMatrix PBA with XMS Cloud. Using XMS Cloud, you will be able to use the same workflows you are already accustomed to. You will quickly see how easy it is to configure and manage cnMatrix PBA without the need for extensive training or a very large user's manual. The next key point is security, and we can address security like no one else. With cnMatrix PBA, you will create policies and rules so that when a device is plugged into a switch port, the switch will profile the device and determine what type of device has been plugged in. Then the switch will configure the port automatically based on a rule that you have pre-configured for that type of device. When a device is removed from a switch port, then the port is automatically reset back to the default configuration. This adds one more layer of security around the network. The next point is that it reduces errors. You create policies and add rules that will specify the port configuration that is required for a certain type of device. When that type of device is plugged into a switch port, any switch port, cnMatrix PBA will automatically configure the switch port. Now you are creating one rule for the device instead of having to go through the error-prone task of manually configuring each and every switch port that type of device is connected to. Okay, now let's walk through a day in the life of a network administrator. First, I'll show you how PBA works in XMS Cloud. So you've ordered and installed cnMatrix switches in your network, and you will configure and manage your access points and switches with XMS Cloud. The first thing you'll want to do is create and configure network profiles. This can be the same profile you use to configure and manage your Xeris and XV access points. In this case, you will configure the profile with switch templates and policy-based automation rules. When you add cnMatrix switches to the profile, they will take on the switch configuration of the profile, or they will be configured by the policy-based automation policies and rules created in this profile. This way, you will have a consistent image and set of PBA policies on all your switches across your entire network. If you plan on using templates to configure profiles, click Templates. As you can see here, I already have a couple of template configurations for the EX2016M-P 16-port switch. If I click the Port tab, I can see the templates that I've already configured for port configurations based on the type of device that could be plugged into the port. And when I click on the PBA tab, I can see PBA templates that I have already completed to help when I go to create PBA policies. It's very important to understand that templates are not necessary in the configuration of the switch profile. They are only here to help us when we have to configure a lot of ports or policies. Using templates, we only have to assign the template as opposed to configuring each and every port or PBA policy individually. Now I'll go back to my profile and go to the switches page. If I wanted to configure the switch ports to be static, meaning that the configuration of the port will not change regardless of the type of device plugged into the port, I can easily apply a pre-configured template. This is the same template you just saw on the Switch Templates page. It has configured ports for workstations, printers, access points, and uplink ports. You can see how easy and quick it is to configure an entire switch or groups of switches this way. These are static port settings, and ports can be manually changed very quickly. I'll reset the configuration of the switch back to factory defaults so that you can see how PBA policies and rules will work. To do this, we'll go to the Policies page. You'll see the new Policy-Based Automation section. Notice that I have already created policies for the XD series of Xeris access points, network printers, and the XV3-8 Wi-Fi 6 access point. I will now quickly create and configure a new PBA policy. So I'll click the Add a Rule button. I'll give the policy a name. And I want to add a policy that configures the switch ports for my XV2-2 access points. So I'll give the policy a name, select an icon, and then I'll add the detection rule. Now I need to select the detection method I want to use. The system is able to detect many different types of information sent by the device using LLDP, or you can use MAC address information to define a device type. In this instance, I will select LLDP any, and for the criteria, I will add XD2-2, and then click the Add button. The port type will be a trunk port. And for PoE priority, I'll set that as critical. And now I save this policy rule and then save the configuration. And now I'll go back to my network, click on the switches page. Notice on the switch that the status shows as configuring. So that new PBA rule is getting pushed down to the switch. Now I'll click on the switch model number, and that brings a graphic up which shows the switch ports. Notice that some of the switch ports are already active and have been configured by PBA policies. I have plugged the XV2-2 into port number 9. In just a moment, we'll see that the port will be configured according to the rule that I just created. After a moment, the switch has automatically configured the switch port with the settings in the PBA policy for this device. Now watch what happens when a device gets moved to a different switch port. I have just physically moved the XV3-8 access point from port 11 to port 13. And after a moment, the switch has automatically reconfigured the switch ports. The active port now has the correct configuration for the device, and the inactive port has been reset back to its default configuration. PBA adds another layer of security to your network by automatically resetting the inactive port configuration. Okay, and this concludes this short video on how to demo cnMatrix policy-based automation. Thank you for your time and have a great day.